Hi everyone, welcome back to another Vlogmas video. So I've got an exciting video today. This is my end of year makeup inventory video. So with my makeup inventory, I wrote this at the start of the year, and it's basically where you get out all of your makeup items and you write down every single thing that you have. So you write down all your foundations, all your concealers, all your eyeshadow palettes, your lip liners, and it's a great way to see how much of each individual makeup category you own, and also your overall number as well. And makeup inventories are a really handy way of just seeing how much you own and just keeping a check on your spending as well, and bringing new makeup into your collection. So for example, if you get really tempted by a new foundation that's released, you can go back to your inventory and go, well actually I've got 20 foundations, I probably don't need to add in another one. I do want to say though that makeup inventories are very individual. What one person thinks is a small makeup collection, another person might think is a big makeup collection. So there is no judgment. Your makeup collection is your own personal collection. It's entirely up to you how big or how small you want your makeup collection to look. And I know for myself, there are certain categories that I don't mind having a lot of products in, but then there's certain categories that I'm very comfortable with having just one or two products in. And my aim as well with my makeup collection is to have it fairly small. I want it to be fairly minimal, fairly curated. I don't want to be losing track of any of the products that I own. I want to make sure that everything gets used on a regular basis, but I also want to have enough where I have lots of things to play with. I'm able to be a bit creative. So I like to keep real close tabs on my makeup inventory. Now at the start of the year, when I first started my channel here on YouTube, I put up a makeup inventory video. So that's how I'm gonna compare how my inventory looks now to how it was at the start of the year. But then I also did videos every 3 months as well. So I like to do quarterly check-ins. I feel like every 3 months is not too regular, but also I'm not leaving it too long to keep an eye on my inventory. So I think that's something I'm going to do next year as well. I'm going to do, again, quarterly makeup inventory check-in videos just to see how my collection is looking, especially as well because I am off my no-buy next year. So I'm off my no-buy in, 3 days time. So I don't want to ignore this inventory and then for it to potentially kind of get out of hand with all the makeup that I've got. So I have set myself targets for 2022 for each of the makeup categories as well, which I will go through as I tell you all the numbers as to how my collection looks now. Okay, let's start things off with primer then. Now I started off the year on 3 and my end of year goal was to have 3, but I'm now currently down to 1, so I have exceeded my goal. And the one primer that I currently own is the Bobbi Brown Face Base, which I love. Now my goal for next year for primers is still going to be 3. And I think I'm always going to own the Bobbi Brown Face Base. So having my goal at 3 primers means that I have a couple of primers that I can play about with. I can try a couple of new ones and I can maybe have different finishes as well. So the Bobbi Brown one, I guess, is a hydrating one. It makes your makeup stay in place all day. But if I want to try more of a mattifying one or a glowy primer, I have options to do so. Okay, next is foundations. I started off the year on 14, and for me, having 14 foundations is too many. I personally don't want to be owning that many foundations at any one time. So I started off the year on 14 and my goal was to get down to 9, and I have exceeded that goal. I was really thinking that getting down to 9 foundations throughout the year would be quite difficult. I did sell 2. I sold my Illamasqua Skin Base and one of my Bare Minerals original foundations. They were both unopened, both unused, so I sold them both on eBay, which was good. And then I decluttered 4 of them, which was my Revolution Conceal and Define, because that one had gone off, it stunk. I decluttered my Laura Geller Baked one, my Complexion Rescue from Bare Minerals, because I had 2 of them and I don't need 2. And then my Estee Lauder Double Wear had gone off as well. So sold 2, decluttered 4, panned 4 as well. So that's 10 in total. So I'm now down to 4 foundations, which is excellent. That is much better. I am so super happy with my foundation collection at the moment in terms of numbers, not necessarily the products. I will be panning, I think, 3 of my 4 foundations next year because I want to get them used up. They're getting a bit old now, so they need to be gone out of my collection. And my goal for next year is to have 5. I think having 5 foundations means that I can have a powder one, I can have the majority liquid, and then I've got options then as to the finishes, whether I want a matte one or a glowy one. a light, medium, full coverage, and I feel like 5 is manageable as well. And also I just love buying foundations. Foundations for me is a category of makeup that I just love trying. I love trying new ones. So I met my goal with foundations. I also met my goal with concealers as well. So I started off the year on 9 concealers, and I wanted to get down to 8, and I'm now down to 3. Now I did sell 3 unopened Tarte Shape Tape concealers at the beginning of the year. For some silly reason I thought it would be a good idea to have 3 backup Tarte Shape Tape concealers. But I've been panning my Tarte Shape Tape concealer all year, so it takes a year to use up a concealer, and I just thought I don't need 3 of them. So I sold them, so that's 3 gone. I decluttered my Revolution Concealer and Define concealer because that had gone off, and I also decluttered my e.l.f. 16 Hour Camo concealer because that's just an awful concealer. So I am down to 3 because I've also finished off my Tarte Shape Tape concealer, which I'm so happy with. That has been clinging on, holding on for dear life the past few days. I've really had to like scrape out the concealer from the tube. So that one is now gone. I own 2 Fenty ones and a Too Faced Born This Way concealer. So I've gone from 9 down to 3. So I have met my goal with concealers. And my goal for next year is also 5, like with foundations. Colour corrector, I started off the year on 1, and I've had 1 throughout the year. But the one that I've had has changed. I now currently own the Bobbi Brown corrector, which I really like, and my goal for next year is to stay at 1. I don't feel like I need multiple colour correctors. I found the Bobbi Brown one which works fine for me, so I'm happy to stay with that one. Powders, I started off the year on 2 and I still have 2, and I've had the same 2 throughout the year as well. I've got my Fenty Invisimatte blotting powder and my Laura Mercier loose translucent setting powder. I'm perfectly happy with those 2. I don't feel the need to have more, so my 2022 goal is to still stay at 2. Bronzers, I started off the year on 1 and my year goal was to have 1, and that's just because I'm not really a massive bronzer person. I'm much more of a blusher person, but I did declutter that bronzer, and to replace it I couldn't decide between the cream or the powder Fenty bronzer, so I actually bought both. And I still have both of them, so I haven't met my goal with this one, but I'm not fussed about that, to be honest. I'm not going to beat myself up over not meeting certain goals here if the products I own I love, and I love both of those bronzers. I think they are brilliant, and I like having the option to go for a cream one or a powder one. So I currently have 2, and my goal next year is to have 3, and that's because I want the Vive bronzer. So yeah, I want 3 next year, but I don't feel like I need to go over 3. I think once I have the Vive one along with the 2 Fenty ones, I'm okay. Contour products, I started off the year on 1, and my goal was to have 1 by the end of the year, or a maximum of 1 rather, but I used up my NYX contour in taupe in my project pan halfway through the year possibly, and I haven't replaced that contour, and I am allowed to because I'm on a replacement only no buy. So because I had no contours I was able to buy one, but I just haven't, and I haven't missed having a contour product. So I currently own 0. And I've set my 2022 goal for 1, so if there happens to be a contour product next year that grabs my attention, that I feel I must have, I can buy one. But as it currently stands, I don't miss owning any contour products. Blushes next. I started the year on 3 and I wanted to get down to 2, and I've met that goal because I'm now down to 1. The blusher I own is Milani Luminoso. But I really love blushes. Like with foundations and concealers, I like trying new ones. So I've actually set my 2022 goal for 6, and that's because there are 2 Fenty ones I'd like to try and 3 Vive ones I'd like to try as well. Highlighter next. I started off the year on 3 and I wanted to get down to 1 by the end of the year, and that's because I'm not a massive highlighter fan. It's not a product I really love wearing, and I've also got highlighters in some of my face and eye palettes. So the highlighters that I'm mentioning here are single, individually packaged highlighters. So I had 3 and I wanted to get down to 1. I haven't met that goal because I have 2. So I have my Becca Champagne Pop, but I'm also panning my number 7 highlighting drops. And my goal for next year for highlighters is 1. So I want to use up that number 7 one, and then I want to start working on some of the highlighters in the face and eye palettes. So I feel like 1 highlighter, along with the ones that are in those palettes, that's more than enough for me. Okay, face palettes next. I started off the year on 3 and I wanted to get down to 3. I've actually decluttered all of them and I now have no face palettes. And I haven't set myself a goal for next year because face palettes is not a product that I really feel like I need in my collection. I'm not missing having any, but if there is one that grabs my attention that I feel like I must add into my collection, I'll let myself buy it, but I haven't set a specific goal for it next year. Face and eye palettes next. I started off the year on 8. I had 4 or 5 of the Laura Geller ones, and then I think I had about 3 of the Estee Lauder ones, and I've slowly decluttered them over the past year, and my goal was to get down to 6, but I'm now on 4, so I have halved that, and the 4 that I own are all by Laura Geller, and my goal for next year is to stay at 4. I like all of the 4 face and eye palettes that I have, so I don't feel the need to add any more in. Eyeshadow primers next. I started off the year on 3 and I wanted to get down to 1. I am at 2 though. I am panning my NYX eyeshadow base, but that is taking a long time to pan. My goal for next year is to get down to 1. I personally don't feel the need to have more than 1 eyeshadow primer. It's not a type of product that I need to keep playing with lots of different types. If I can find one that works for me, which I have done, the NYX one is great, and I love the Urban Decay Primer Potion as well, I'm happy to just stay at 1. A new category into my makeup inventory this year was glitter primer. I didn't have any at the start of the year, and I bought some halfway through the year, and I bought the NYX glitter primer because I heard Sarah Rose rave about the product and it is fantastic. So I bought that one halfway through the year, and my goal was to have one at the end of the year. My goal for next year is to have one as well. I still own the NYX one, it's going strong, that is going to last me a very long time. And like with the eyeshadow primers, I don't feel the need to have more than 1 glitter primer. Eyeshadow singles next. This was another category of makeup, like with foundations, that I wanted to reduce throughout the past year, and that's because I tend to reach for palettes more over singles. So I started off the year on 24 and I wanted to get down to 20. I have met that goal. I am down to 19. So I'm very, very happy with that. And my goal for next year is to reduce that even further. I want to get down to 17. I think there's a MAC one that I could possibly use up by the end of next year, and maybe 1 or 2 that I could declutter because I want to add more eyeshadows into my collection next year. So I might start to inevitably dupe some of the singles that I have. Next one is eyeshadow palettes. I started off the year on 8 and I wanted to get down to 7, and another goal I've met, I'm down to 5. I decluttered the Revolution Soph and the Extra Spice from Soph. I also decluttered one of my Bare Minerals palettes and another Revolution Quad and an Estee Lauder one as well. But I have added to my eyeshadow palettes. I mentioned this in my recent spending video. I will link it if you've not seen it. But I found an excellent Black Friday deal on 2 of the ABH palettes. I bought Novena and Modern Renaissance. So yeah, with eyeshadow palettes, I decluttered 5 of them, but then I added 2 into my collection. So I currently have 5, but I'm still under my goal of 7 for next year. But with the palettes, how I'm setting up my makeup inventory for next year is that I'm going to split it, and I'm going to take out NARS Is Old, which is a duo, and that's going to be its own separate category. So for eyeshadow duos, I own 1, and I want to still own 1 by the end of the year. I love that duo, and I don't see myself using it up next year unless I go mad with it and end up using it way more frequently than I did this year. And then eyeshadow palettes now becomes 4, and by the end of the year my goal is 9, and that's because there's a couple of Eve palettes I want to add into my collection. I also want to get Soft Glam by ABH, and then that leaves me with a couple spare if there are any eyeshadow palettes released next year that grab my attention and I just have to add into my collection. Okay, eyeshadow sticks. I started off the year on 3 and my goal for the year was to get down to 0. I met this goal at the beginning of the year because I decluttered all of them. I think they were all by Mally. Eyeliner pencils. Unfortunately, I've not met this goal. I have done well with this category though. I started off the year on 7 and I'm now down to 5. My goal was to reach 3, but I haven't quite managed it. I am panning MAC Teddy, but that's just taking a long time to pan. So I'm thinking of maybe taking that out of my project pan. And also just because it's a nice colour to have in my collection. It's a nice warm brown, so that's quite a handy colour to just have in my collection throughout the year anyway. So I'm at 5 and I wanted to get down to 3, but I didn't manage it. But I have changed my goal for this. I'm going to keep it at 5 for next year because I think having a black, a brown and a nude are very handy colours to have. And then again, that leaves me with a couple of shades to play about with. Liquid liner, started off the year on 1 and I've had that same one throughout the entire year. My goal was to finish the year on 1, so I've met that goal. And my goal for next year, I have increased it to 2, and that's just because I think having a black liquid liner and also a brown liquid liner would be a really good idea. And I've also not tried a brown liquid liner, so I'm interested to see what that would be like. Mascara, started off the year on 3 and I wanted to get down to 1 by the end of the year, and that's just because I had a couple of backups that I wanted to use up. So I did manage to achieve that goal. I am down to 1, but my goal next year is to have 3, and that's just because if I fancy having a black one opened and a brown one opened at the same time, and also I can have 1 or 2 in my collection as backups, and then I can decide which mascara I feel like using next. Eyebrows, I've done really well with eyebrow products this year. I started off the year on 7, wanted to get down to 4, and I'm now down to 2. And I have panned quite a few eyebrow products this year. So I panned the NYX Microbrow and Control Freak, the Benefit Precisely My Brow and 24-Hour Brow Setter, but then I did declutter the Goof Proof and the Cabral. So I currently own 2. I'm panning Gimme Brow at the moment, and then I've got a mini Benefit 24-Hour Brow Setter. And my goal next year, I'm going to keep it at 2. This year I have realised that I like using either a tinted brow gel or a pencil and clear brow gel. So because of that, I don't feel like I need more than 2 products at any one time for my brows. False lashes has stayed on 1 throughout the entire year. My goal was to have 1 as well, so I've met that, and that goal of 1 is going to stay next year as well. It's not a product that I wear that often, so it doesn't need to be higher than 1. On to lip products then, we're nearly there. So lip balm, I started off the year on 5, wanted to get down to 4. I thought realistically using up 1 lip balm for a year would be realistic because they're quite a slow moving product, aren't they? But I actually got through 2. I got through the Ultra Sun lip balm and the Vaseline lip balm, but I did declutter another lip balm which I kept in my car as my car lip balm, but doing that made it go a little bit funky, so I ended up throwing that one away. So I'm down to 2, and my goal for next year is to have 2 as well. Again, like a lot of the items on my inventory, I don't feel the need to have loads. 2 lip balms is enough. Lip liners next. I unfortunately didn't meet my goal for lip liners this year. I wanted to get down to 4 and I started off the year on 9. I'm down to 7. I did use up 1. I used up MAC Staunchly Stylish, and then I decluttered Collection Pink Heaven and Collection Pink. But I did break my no by a couple months ago by buying a lip liner to go with a lipstick that's kind of like this colour actually. It just makes the application a lot easier. So I was down to 6, but then because I bought that lip liner, it's gone up to 7. But my goal for lip liners next year is gonna stay at 7. I do want to use up a couple more in my collection, but I also want to add in a few Vive lip liners as well to go with some Vive lipsticks. Lipsticks, I have met my goal. I started off the year on 19, and like with my foundations and my eyeshadow singles, I, in my opinion, owned too many lipsticks. 19 was too many for me. I wanted to get down to 13, and I have gotten down to 13. I decluttered MAC Well, that was a horrible shade on me. I used up 2 Revolution Soph lipsticks. I then also decluttered 3 further lipsticks as well, so I've only used up 2 this year. I was hoping to have used up another lipstick by the end of the year. I'm also panning another Revolution Soph lipstick, but it's a lot darker in tone. It's like a dark brown, so it's taken me a lot longer to get through. But that doesn't matter because I have met my goal of 13. My goal for next year is to get down to 12. I'm going to use up the Revolution Fudge one, and there's a couple more on the list that I think I can pan. But like with lip liners, I want to add in some Vive lipsticks. Last 2 categories, lip gloss, started off the year on 2 and I wanted to get down to 1. I've met that goal. I actually used up both lip glosses that were in my collection, which were the Estee Lauder one and the Fenty Gloss Bomb. And then because I used them up, I was able to buy a replacement one, and I bought the Vive Lip Dew, which is nice, but it is a little bit glittery for my liking. So I will be panning that probably sometime soon. And my goal for lip glosses for next year is 3. And that's because I've really discovered a newfound joy for lip glosses. I do quite like them now. and I want to try a Kiko one, a Maybelline one, and some more of the Fenty ones as well. So I've set a goal of 3 because that gives me a few to kind of chop and choose between. And the last category is setting spray. Started off the year on 1. Year goal was to have 1, and I have 1. I currently own the Urban Decay All Nighter setting spray, which I love. I'm planning on buying another one of that soon because it's very nearly used up. And my goal for next year is to still have 1. Again, like a lot of these products, I don't feel the need to have lots of. 1 setting spray is enough for me. I don't need multiple. So in total then, I started off the year on 141 products, and my goal was to get down to a nice round 100. That wasn't how I intended it, that just happened to be the total number once I added it all up. But because I added in a new category of glitter primer, that end goal went up to 101. I am now down to 81. I am 20 below my year goal target of 101, which is fantastic. Considering as well that I did break my nose by 3 times this year. I bought the Becca Champagne Mini Pop Highlighter, I bought the lip liner, and I bought the 2 ABH palettes as well. So I'm so super pleased with that number. That is really, really good. In terms of the numbers for next year, my goal is 103, but that's not because I necessarily want to get up to 103 products, because I've allowed myself a bit of freedom to buy certain more products like the eyeshadow palettes, lip gloss, mascara. It just means that the goal has gone up, but that's not a goal of 103 that I'm aiming to finish the year on. So unfortunately, I've not met my 2021 goal for all of my categories of makeup. The ones that I didn't meet were bronzers. I wanted 1 by the end of the year and I've got 2, but like I said, I'm not fussed about that. I like both of them that I've got, and I've got cream and powder, so I can choose whether I want to use a cream one or a powder one. I also didn't meet it with the highlighters. I wanted to get down to 1 and I've got 2, but I am panning the number 7 one, so that one should hopefully be used up very quickly. Also eyeshadow primers, again I wanted to get down to 1 and I've got 2, but again I'm panning one of them, so that one should be done hopefully soon as well. Eyeliners I didn't reach, but that was a little bit of an ambitious target for me to use up 4 in a year, and it's not a product I use that often. I wanted to get down to 3 and I've got 5. Lip liner was another one. I wanted to get down to 4 and I've got 7. And that was it. So 5 categories out of my entire makeup inventory I didn't meet my goal on. But the rest I did, so I'm really, really happy with my progress this year, and I feel like my makeup collection looks how I want it to look. But then I have changed my goals slightly for next year to allow myself to buy some products that have been on my wish list for a very long time. So it's going to be interesting to see how my makeup collection looks at this time next year as well. So I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. Hope you found it interesting. I love watching makeup inventory videos, so if you have one, please let me know so I can go and be nosy and watch it. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.